So I want to talk about something else. So you have been thinking a lot about AI.
Yeah.
And I have a whole merchandise store built on AI. And I think AI is pretty great. I think AI allows people to do things more efficiently with a higher quality. It's fun. It's creative. I did a whole last week, Joshua. Actually, it was last Tuesday. Like when I was like really upset and everything, we did our show and like the show was fine, but I was still upset. I did a whole stream that night where I made a whole AI art collection. And we did a whole collaborative where I just created AI art on the stream and people would send in suggestions and we made a lot of cool shit. And I'm like, I love AI art, but people don't all like AI, right?
Well, yeah, I was talking to one of my friends and I'm noticing that there's this very, very strong delineation between people who are completely throwing themselves into it, embracing it totally, and then these people who absolutely can't stand it. They think that it's the worst thing that could ever possibly happen. So there's vast views on AI, and I'm along the lines of with you. I think resistance is futile at this point. Like it makes no sense.
And I think that's ironic because, like, to be honest, and I don't mean any offense by this, and I think you know that, but like, I would have thought that the people who'd be more resistant to AI would, quite frankly, be like anal. And you can be a little anal sometimes. You like the way things are done. You have your schedule. You don't like to deviate from your schedule. You have your routine. Like, and so I'm just like, I'm actually a little bit surprised that with as anal as you can be on occasion, you have embraced AI.
Well, it's a tool for efficiency. It helps me become more anal. It does.
I guess so.
It's great. It can do. I mean, the next thing that's so cool is that it's going to be motion graphics. It's going to be aligned with, like, some people are already doing this. They're aligning it with Midjourney. So we're going to be able to soon create cartoons. We actually probably can now. But already you can turn like a dog into an elephant. You can create something on Midjourney, and say, turn this into from a dog to an elephant, and it will do that. So soon we're actually going to be able to create our own cartoons, which is going to, and also the other thing is, like, for instance, because now with like those deep fakes, we could have, terrible example, but Tom Hanks, we could have Tom Hanks in movies with new scripts and whatnot without Tom Hanks. Because we have his face from all the movies that he did. We have his voice. We have his mannerisms. We don't need Tom Hanks because we already have plenty of footage of Tom Hanks. So we can do movies in the future without hiring any actors if we wanted to.
Or after they die.
After they die, absolutely. So what's going to probably be next is, like, we're going to have to copyright our images, or we're going to be, in movies, or actors will be anyway, that they have no control over. You know what I mean?
And that's another thing is, like, so one of the things that people say about like AI art is, like, it can't be copywritten, like, as of in US law right now, like, you can't copyright AI art things. And people like, Carlin, do you want to open a merchandise store on like AI art because you can't copyright it? And I was kind of like, well, I understand why some people might be concerned, but honestly, if you're going to steal AI art that someone else made instead of just like making your own, that's just lazy so far as I'm concerned. It's like, anyone can do this. There are a million AI art tools out there. What's stopping anyone from making their own AI art? I mean, I think more like, I don't know, like, there's other AI too, like ChatGPT. Like, you use it to proofread your stuff. I should probably use it to proofread my stuff if we're honest about it, because there's a typo in everything I send out. But like it's just like so useful, and I don't understand why people wouldn't just, instead of stealing what other people are doing, use it for their own purposes.
That's a really good point. And I also think, though, that, well, there's going to soon be plugins. So you're probably going to have like a plugin with your Twitter. So you can, like, do you want to correct this, or do you want to proofread this? You press a button and it will revise it. Or
like, are you sure you want to tweet this at 3 a.m., Carlin?
Yeah. Probably.
Like, yes, fuck you, AI. Yes, I want to tweet it.
It's probably going to replace like administrative assistants and whatnot, for sure. But I think that when you're creating the AI for, I think, writing as well as for art, you need to add, like, your finishing touches. So I wonder if that could be copywritten. So, for instance, you create something in Midjourney, but then you put it in Photoshop, which
and you edit it, and you have to, like, spruce it up a little bit.
Right. So that, I think, should be copywritten because you're putting your flair into it. Do you know what I mean? So it is your intellectual property.
Yeah. It's
you
going to go
know?
through the courts eventually. I'm not actually really that concerned about it for right this second, but so a lot of people are concerned about AI though. They think it's going to take over the world, or at the bare minimum it's going to take their jobs.
Well, what's going to be next are people who are able to create really good commands, because that is the next job. We're losing a lot of people. I started working, one of my very first jobs was a proofreader, and that's how I moved up the ranks. I wouldn't have been able to do that today, because with the proofreading now, I mean, you just flow it into the document, and I'm sorry, but it's better than a human. It just is. So the thing is that you may want to, because of that copyright stuff, you might want to just start watermarking, put like in the little corner of the KB or whatever, just so it's more difficult for people to take your work, because it is really, really
I
art.
have it labeled unwoke art when I put it online.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting.
I mean, I think it's a great way to like separate the wheat from the chaff, if you will, because it's like if you are so incompetent that you can really be replaced by a robot, you need to expand your own skill set, or you need to make what you're doing more unique. Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I personally could be replaced by AI right now. I don't think so. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
No.
AI would be able to analyze the whole woke situation, like you curate the news like I do and make sure people
No.
know, like, but I don't think that's true. Do you think you could be replaced by AI?
No, because the thing is that where humans are better than AI is when it comes to being human. So the thing
Yeah.
is that we're all going to have to really pump up our humanness, the connection between the mind, spirit, and body, which we have a leg up on. We will always be better
Mhm.
at being humans than AIs. But what we're going to need to do is to make sure that we're not on automatic pilot. We have to add humanness to our work, and we're going to have to really explore and exploit our talents and abilities, which makes perfect sense with Jupiter now in Taurus, because Taurus rules inherent talent, skills, and abilities. So we're going to have to exploit those if we're going to be competitive, or else we are replaceable.
Excellent.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent. So what did we want to psychic about this? Remind me. What is the question that we wanted to ask?
Well, I don't want to, like, I don't know. I'm cool with people not liking it, because I'm just leveraging it. But I would like
I
to
think it's
know.
hilarious how militant they are.
They're
It's like
so.
like anytime I see someone militantly against AI, I'm like, you can be replaced by a robot.
I had a friend tell me on the phone, he's like, the person who created this should be murdered. They should just kill him. I'm like, what?
That seems a little excessive.
Well, I mean, I think that if your field was, I mean, that's what a big part of the writer's strike is right now, is that, AI is taking over many, many jobs. I think that if, your livelihood was threatened, and it's not, because you're a very human person, you don't just call it in and do things like a computer. You have nuances, you have a personality, etc. But if your
On a good
job
day.
was, sorry?
On a good day.
On a good day, very much so. But if your job was, if your livelihood was put at risk, I think that we might be singing a different tune for sure.
Yeah.
Because I mean, now it's like, okay, the art that AI generates, just the art alone, I mean, seriously, it's like, it's way better than what you'd be paying somebody a lot of money to create.
It is way better. I'm not, and I don't think that like really good artists should fear it though, because like I would still buy original art. Like I have original paintings
Yeah.
like in my house that I paid a metric ton of money for, and like I have no regrets about that because they're beautiful and they can't be recreated by AI. But if I was like a digital artist,
Yeah.
and I would be shaking in my damn boots. Because
Yeah,
it's so much
exactly.
better, it's so much easier, it's so much quicker. Like, I mean, and I do think that smart artists are going to start incorporating it into their work, even if just to like concept something, to like
Yeah.
have some cool ideas that maybe they wouldn't have thought of before, and then they paint the real thing or like what have you.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, yeah, I would be shaking if I was a digital artist right now, for
Yeah.
real.
Absolutely. But the thing is, too, what's interesting is Jupiter is now in Taurus. Taurus is very traditional. So we're talking like things are going to be things that are traditional, like actual tactile things. Taurus rules the senses. So there is going to be most likely an uptake in art that you can actually hold, that has texture that you can touch,
Yeah.
that has been made by paint. Do you know what I mean? Like that, this year especially, is probably going to be extremely lucrative. Anything that involves the senses, anything traditional, So that's an interesting concept of this too. But so to your point, the concepting with AI is really a very wise way to use it at this juncture, because with Jupiter and Taurus, we're going to be expanding and growing when we are leaning on the side of tradition.
Yeah, I actually had that exact same conversation with some of my community members where they were saying like this is going to make like quote unquote real art much more valuable when it's good, but the shitty art will no longer be valuable because it can be easily replaced. But like like people are gonna have more of an affinity towards those like finer things.
Yeah, and I think in terms of like painting and whatnot, I mean, you could print out an AI generated piece of art, and then you could paint over it. You can add to it just like you would with your writing. You add like a flourish and a flair and a pop to make it human, to make it yours. You know, it's wild. But we're going to have cartoons soon. Soon they're going to be incorporating, I'm sure of it, with video editing software. Because then, in fact, I'm guessing that there's probably already in the works a plugin at least, and then there's going to be other software that's generated, so you can essentially say, I want this guy running like Dennis the Menace up a tree, and I want him to turn into Tom and Jerry, and like boom,
yeah,
it's going to be it's wild. It's totally changing things.
So what do we want to psychic about this? Like, why are people resistant to it, or like what is the best question, Joshua? I forget.
How about we ask how will the people who are resistant to AI fare in the upcoming years?
Excellent. How will the people who are resistant to AI fare in the upcoming years?
And say when?
When?
This is interesting. So they're probably going to be stabilizing, right? With the Queen of Pentacles. This is Taurus, right? But then you have 8 of Swords.
Ooh.
So this is like painting yourself in a corner. Like, where are my options? Because like sooner or later, it's going to be a matter of like, what do you mean? You're like, what do you mean you don't do AI? It's almost like, what do you mean you don't write?
Like, yeah, it's like you don't know how to do Word, you don't know how to do email. Like, what are you talking?
Oh, I don't do email.
Yeah, exactly. Which we lived through this, right? Like, this was actually a thing. Like that people had to learn how to do at one point. There was a time when people didn't do email, guys. It was real.
It's true. And then you have 3 of Swords.
Oh.
Resistance is futile, folks.
Resistance
here first.
Resistance is futile. You don't want to be someone that can be replaced by a robot, after all.
But again, I think that it's that humanness. Like, we're being forced to really play up how human we actually are, because that is our value prop at this point. That's the only thing that we have that's going to do better than AI is our humanness, our experience of being human, with emotions, with our spirituality, with our intellect, and the complexities of the human mind. AI is not going to be able to get to that space, no matter how much information we pour into it. It's still not going to have that human experience that we do. So,
words of wisdom.